Or Al Roker, whose familiar warmth has greeted Americans through blizzards, hurricanes, national celebrations, and unspeakable tragedies. The forecast has never been limited to weather patterns alone, but has often included the emotional climate of a nation. And over the decades, he has come to understand that compassion, so essential to meaningful journalism, carries a weight that does not simply evaporate when the cameras power down. Those who have reached their 60s know this truth in their bones, that caring deeply, whether for family, community, or country, leaves an imprint on the body as surely as the years themselves. And Al's long career has been a testament not only to professional endurance, but to the quiet accumulation of stories that settle into the heart. There were mornings when he stood on a storm-battered shoreline, wind tugging at his coat as he described destruction to viewers at home. And though his tone remained steady, inside he felt the ache of witnessing families sift through what remained of their lives. And later, back in the studio's relative calm, that ache did not disappear, but lingered, a reminder that empathy is not a switch to be flipped, but a muscle that, when overused, can grow weary. Deborah Roberts, with her own distinguished career in journalism, has long recognized the subtle toll such work can take, and in the privacy of their home, she has often been the one to notice when the day's stories cling to Al more heavily than usual, when his laughter comes a shade slower, or his silence stretches longer. And for couples who have shared decades together, there's an unspoken language in these small shifts, in understanding that love sometimes means helping the other set down burdens they did not realize they were still carrying. As the years advanced and health challenges entered Al's life, moments that prompted reflection rather than retreat, he began to see more clearly how the emotional demands of reporting, layered atop the physical rigors of early mornings and relentless schedules, form a cumulative strain, not dramatic enough to headline, yet persistent enough to matter. In viewers in their 60s, many managing their own health journeys, can recognize the delicate balance between dedication and depletion, between giving generously of oneself and preserving enough strength to continue. Al has spoken candidly at times about resilience, but what resonates most is not bravado, but vulnerability, the acknowledgement that compassion without boundaries can blur into exhaustion. And Deborah's steady presence has been instrumental in shaping healthier rhythms, encouraging pauses, celebrating ordinary evenings at home, reminding him that stepping back from the storm, literal or metaphorical, is not a failure of commitment, but an act of wisdom earned through experience. There were broadcasts that proved particularly heavy, coverage of school tragedies, communities torn apart by violence, stories that no amount of professional polish could render emotionally neutral, and in those moments Al felt the tension between journalist and human being, aware that the audience relied on his composure, yet sensing the quiet tremor within. And it was often afterward, in the solitude of a car ride home, or the hush of a dimly lit kitchen, that the full impact surfaced, not as dramatic despair, but as a fatigue that settled into his shoulders, a reminder that long-term exposure to sorrow requires intentional care. For those who have lived through eras of upheaval, who remember where they were when history shifted, and who have carried those memories forward, there's a profound understanding that the body keeps its own record of stress. And Al's journey underscores the importance of tending to that record with compassion equal to the kind he extends on air. Over time, he and Deborah cultivated rituals that counterbalance the intensity of the newsroom. Morning walks when schedules allowed, shared meals free of television chatter, candid conversations about stories that disturbed or inspired them, and these small anchors became as vital as any professional accolade, reinforcing the truth that longevity in journalism, as in marriage, depends on sustained attention to emotional health. Al's presence on screen has always radiated optimism, yet beneath that brightness lies a hard-earned awareness that hope must be nurtured deliberately, especially for those who regularly encounter humanity at its most fragile. And rather than hardening him, the years have softened his approach, deepening his empathy, while sharpening his resolve to protect his well-being, a dual commitment that speaks powerfully to viewers navigating their own later chapters. He has learned that strength in one's 60s is not measured by unbroken stamina, but by discernment, the ability to recognize when a story has struck too close, when rest is necessary, when a quiet evening with Deborah offers more restoration than another hour scrolling through headlines. And in embracing that discernment, he models a form of resilience that feels attainable and authentic. The weight of compassion, he now understands, is not something to be cast off, but to be carried wisely, redistributed through conversation, prayer, reflection, or simple presence with those who matter most. And in doing so, he transforms what could erode into something that refines, allowing decades of emotional reporting to deepen him rather than diminish him. For an audience in their 60s who have loved fiercely, grieved profoundly, worked diligently, and faced their own reckonings with health and time, Roker's path offers reassurance that it is possible to remain open-hearted without being undone, to continue showing up with sincerity while honoring one's limits, and that perhaps the truest forecast he delivers is not about tomorrow's weather, but about the enduring human capacity to care, to adapt, and to find balance between the demands of the world and the quiet needs of the soul. A balance sustained in no small part by Deborah's steadfast partnership and by the wisdom that comes only from years lived fully, compassionately, and consciously.